Yes, good night. Good night, St. Martin, and welcome to your favorite online internet radio talk show, www.sxmtalk.com. And as you can see, I'm smiling because I always feel nice and I always feel good when I have beautiful people in the studio. What am I talking about? Who am I talking about? We're going to get to that in a second. Let me say welcome to everyone out there who's viewing the program. Call a friend, call someone, and tell them log on to www.sxmtalk.com right now because this is a program you would not want to miss. I have one of St. Martin's best and brightest in the studio here with us. We're going to talk about a lot of things concerning your feet. Why is it so important? Why is your foot so important? Who I have here with me, Zenia Duncan, podiatrist, a lovely lady, and we're going to be talking about taking care of your feet. Let me welcome her and say good night and welcome to the program. It's Hard Talk. Zenia, good night.
Good night, Chris.
How are you doing?
I'm great, and you?
I'm doing fine. I'm doing fine. Like I said, beautiful people are in the studio here with us. Zenia, I'm happy that you're here. Welcome to the program.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, and I know it was a while in the making that I tell you I'm going to have you on in this program so we can talk about who you are, what you do, and the importance of your
Thank
feet.
you.
So, without further ado, you can take it away. I'm going to leave you go right in, and don't feel too bad when I come down with some hard and stiff questions because I really want the people to know why it's very important to take care of your feet. Zenia, who was Miss Duncan? Who is Zenia, Miss Duncan? Who was a podiatrist? What is podiatry? Who are you?
My name is Zenia Duncan. Born in St. Lucia, lived in the Netherlands for the last 18 years. I just moved back to St. Martin about a year ago, and I've been working as a podiatrist. Who I am, very ambitious, a go-getter, family-orientated, love life, and love being back in St. Martin once again. I'm just happy to be back on the island.
Now that you say that, and you said you love life, you're happy to be back here on the island. You had 18 years in the Netherlands, right?
Yes, 18 long years, 18 long winters. I had, yeah, it was great living in Europe, in Amsterdam, went to school there. But being back home, I'm here to kind of make a difference with our elderly, inform our young people, and for us to do more and more, be aware of what's going on the island during the causes of diabetes. Just basic information to help you be on your feet as your life prolongs.
Now that you mentioned the word feet, right? You're a podiatrist.
Yes.
You know, you're in the arts of podiatry. What is that? Well, I mean, it's a word, it's a bit difficult to pronounce. I mean, when you look it up, you're talking about feet. What does it mean to be a podiatrist?
Podiatrist means somebody that takes care of your feet. So from your waist down, it has to do with the care of your feet, your nails, the way you walk, the way your foot is developed. If your feet is not on a basic foundation and you're walking on flat foot, what you would call flat, so you feel like, oh, I'm dragging and everything is hurting on my ankle and my knees, that means your basic foundation, your feet are not well proportioned with the rest of your body. Podiatry is something, it is, let's say someone has diabetes. You don't go to a regular salon at the corner. You come to a podiatry. You come to the podiatry place where you have your feet looked at, measured, examined. If there is anything that needs to be done, you do it through a podiatrist. It's a paramedical treatment that you're doing, foot care, not a cosmetic treatment. That's a difference. It also entails if someone has a problem with diabetes and they have skin issues, I also treat that for them. Show them how to clean the wounds themselves, help them to maintain the wounds, and give them information concerning what and how they could change their whole daily routine in what they do as foot care. It's also where you have always people that has problems. They think, oh, I have an ingrown toenail. When they go to the corner salon, it's not even an ingrown. Sometimes a corn that's on the toe, and they say, oh, it hurts so bad. And when treating it, they realize it wasn't an ingrown, it was something else. So we go deep into the core. We do the nail anatomy. We do the foot anatomy. So it's a lot of information I bring out there to the elderly, to the young people even. And that is what the podiatrists do.
You mentioned something a while ago, the corner salon, you know, and it is good that you can distinguish between the two. But let me ask you this question just straight out to you right there. Here I am going on by the nice Dominican lady right down the corner who have the nice scented, and she boiling the water, and then she's gonna place my feet inside, and you know, she coming up with a scrub and a nice soap. And what's the difference between what a nice Dominican lady down the road is doing in the salon to what your practice is all about? Exactly what's the difference?
The difference is that she's not trained in the medical field or in the paramedical field to be able to treat someone with diabetes. It is fine and well for her to put acrylic on the nail or just take care of the foot and put nail polish. She's trained for a cosmetic treatment. I'm trained for a paramedical treatment where I really go with different tools, different machinery, to really go into the core of what has to be done. And I search the problem, diagnose the problem, give the information to the client, and then we do a treatment plan. That is the difference between me and her.
Let me get this straight, because I'm listening to what you're saying, and it seems as if, you know, you're more on the medical side, or it is medical. And I had the privilege, yes, to observe and see your work with a client the other day. And the way you took your time, the delicate procedure that you went, I saw you came with your equipment. And to let the public know, to let everyone know, she comes to your home. She's mobile. So wherever you are, you don't have to pick up yourself and find her. She will pick up herself and find you. So here you were at the client, and I basically saw almost the whole procedure. And there was one point in time where the client said, you know, I have a serious problem with the toe hair, and I saw you started to go down, and then the client said, well, this was painful, and you said, you know what, let me see what this is, because this seems to be serious. And you really took your time, and at the end you really dug out and you got that ingrowing. What was it?
It was a corn. It was a corn that was growing under the nail. Now usually when you go to the corner salon, they usually would file it, shape it up, and they would do stuff around the cuticle. You are not supposed to cut. Let's say this individual is diabetes. You are not allowed to cut the cuticle. There's a machinery that you use to take care of it. She had a corn under her toenail, and it was painful for a while. She's been going for this treatment for a while now, and she keeps coming back, and she said, oh, I always go there, and then it is always painful. So I explained to her it wasn't an ingrown, it was a corn that was under the toe. That could also happen. I see this treatment a lot of times in men. Men wear shoes that's very narrow in the front. They walk. For months, there's no problem. All of a sudden, there is a problem. And then when you take the machinery, you kind of clean the toe, you see all kind of things start appearing. The deeper you go, sometimes is the harder it is to see what the problem is. By the end of it all, this little piece of, I would call it a rice bean, comes out from the toe, and that is the problem right there.
Why is that so painful? Because I saw when you dug it out, I looked at it, it wasn't no bigger than half of a rice grain, but it was extremely painful for the client. Why is such a small little thing so painful?
Because usually they call it in Dutch a vasculaire likdoorn. It's on the nerve. And your nail anatomy or your nail bed anatomy, it's a lot of the times is a thin layer between your nail and your nail bed. And if something is resting your nail bed or under the nail bed, it comes up usually pressing on the nerve area, because you have a lot of veins and nerves and issues going on in these areas, because your toe is a very sensitive place. If something falls on your toe, you will feel the pain actually all in your eyes. And imagine that rice grain under that toe. You're walking around, even if you're wearing slippers, but it's something that is there and it's agitating, it's not comfortable. And as soon as you start using the machinery and you start taking it down, she says, oh my God, it's a relief, because it's something that was pressing on a nerve. And that is how it usually works.
Let me ask you this question, because you said a while ago that if you're diabetic, it's not wise or it's not advisable for you to cut the cubicles off from your feet. But I can tell you, one of the first things that they do at the cosmetic, should I say, the nice Dominican lady down at the salon, one of the first things they do is that they pull out the cubicles and they go around with the stuff and they cut them off and they start to file down. And I mean, why shouldn't you cut off your cubicle? Because even from seeing what they do, right? When I'm taking care of my feet, when I'm scrubbing off my feet and scraping off all that white stuff, you're going to explain what all that is. One of the first things I do is rake off the cuticles.
The reason why you cannot do that with the cuticles is that she's then prone to all kind of bacteria from the air. Remember, people walk, even diabetic patients, they walk with a lot of open shoes, slippers. And you're walking in the air, there is a lot of dust, there's a lot of stuff on the road, in your car, movement in the wind, that will cause stuff going in. Now, she's not trained to treat a diabetic patient. She does that. But she's not putting any ointment after the treatment. She put nail polish and that's it. And that is the worst thing to do, is because, and then it becomes a problem. All of a sudden she's gonna have this pain, it wouldn't heal, then there's the next thing. She doesn't know what's going on, it's gonna make probably concrete. You never know what could happen by cutting the cuticles. It's very dangerous with people with diabetes to do so. The corner Dominican lady, she's not qualified. If she does make a little wound by cutting, she should know the treatments afterwards to put there. But like I said, she's not trained in podiatric medicine, so she wouldn't know what to do at this point.
Zenia, let's get back a bit into your return to St. Martin, because I don't think you have a year, or probably 2 or 3 years back on the island as yet, right? I mean, how hard are you finding, you know, in terms of getting your practice off of the ground, meeting people, talking to individuals, networking? I mean, are you finding it a bit difficult? Are you getting through, you know, and stuff like that?
At first, a couple of months ago, yeah. I was, coming back to St. Martin was, to me, the greatest thing. I was happy to be home. I was beyond myself coming back here. I was like, wow, back in the islands, sun, no coat, no boots, no rain. Thank you, Jesus, I'm back. But after a couple of months trying to maneuver myself in society, letting people know who I am, and it was a struggle, and it's still a struggle. And I'm by the day goes by, I'm trying hard to get to the next place here. St. Martin is not a place where you have to struggle. You just have to know the right people and be in the right place at the right time. But I've had a lot of help from people around me, friends, associates. I have networked with a lot of different people. Once they hear my name or they hear an interview about me, they would call up or find me at my mom's place. So it wasn't difficult. At first it was difficult, but now I find it much easier because I have a voice. One person tells another about me, and it started becoming easier now. And I'm happy that I could say I'm really making a difference in society concerning people that I meet, especially the elderly. When I go to them, they said to me, "Oh, you're godsend. We're so happy. We heard the program a year ago on Lloyd, and we're so happy that you're back. We wish you know we knew about you before." So now they're calling and they're making appointments. I'm finding the process to be much easier now. I guess I had to just stay and be positive and be a little bit longer here. But now that I'm here almost a year, I'm looking forward to working with more people concerning and prevention medicine, I should say, in the diabetic field.
I could imagine that you're seriously a God blessed, especially when you said working with the elderly, because the elderly right now in St. Martin needs a lot of care. And, you know, diabetes seems to be rampant on the island, just like many other diseases. But now that you're saying that, let us go way back into the beginning stages of this treatment, of this medicine, of this art that you have seemed to master. How did you get into podiatry? What is it that made you wake up one day and say, I want to go and treat people's feet? I mean, you're talking about feet here. Come on.
That's a good question, Chris. I have a passion for feet. It started when I was in St. Lucia, where I was born originally from, but I'm also from here. I must say that. My grandmother, she had lots of friends around her. They all had diabetes. The nails was very long. Some of them were blinded by diabetes. And coming home to St. Lucia a couple of times from the Netherlands, I used to always want to cut the toe and take care of them because these people formed me into the woman I am today. Always gave me advice. Always told my grandmother stuff that I was doing, and I got into trouble when I got home. But these people mold me into who I am. And I remember going home and saying, wow, this lady have diabetes. Look at her nails. I just want to cut her nails. And I started taking care of them. And my grandmother said, yeah, most of these people have diabetes. You have to be careful, blah, blah, blah. So I went back to the Netherlands with some friends. I started doing their feet at home in Amsterdam. And they said, why don't you do that as a course? And I didn't know there was a course even existed. So this friend, she informed through the internet, and she told me, yeah, there is a course and there is a school in Amsterdam you could go to. And I proceed on doing the first thing, getting the money together and paying into the school, my machinery and everything that I needed to start the first year of school, my books, my uniform. And being there in the theory part of the course, there was so much to learn. I became more fascinated by, wow, is that for real? And still, I remember that like it was yesterday. I remember when I went to the practice the first time, the smell of all these feet. It was something I didn't like, but
that's what I said.
I know
it's feet. That
I
you're
remember the
talking about.
first day I went into the practice. I was in the practice all dressed up, thinking it was cute. I was looking cute. But then the smell dawned on me in that area, in the medicine area, and I thought, oh Lord, what did I get myself into? And I remember there was a client in a seat, and I had to go to him. He had psoriasis, and psoriasis is a disease. It could come overbearing, could come from your head down to your nails. And I remember I had to start working on him, using the machinery, and the nails started to fly everywhere. And I thought, this is not for me. All night, I remember thinking, I need to cut my hair. I need to cut my hair because that stuff went everywhere. But I remember, okay, you paid all this money. You need to finish this course. But it was something that stayed with me till a day like today. The smell of all the medicine, all the feet, all the nails towards the machinery, that smell never leaves you. But after almost...
Can't be a good smell, that
No, no. It is not a good smell, but I've learned to live with it. It doesn't bother me anymore. But when I go into a challenge, into a customer now, if I go to a client's home or into the practice, and I realize this is a challenge, in my mind I'm thinking this is a challenge and I need to know how to diagnose this and handle this. And I thank God that He always put the right instrument in my hand, the right idea, how to proceed with handling a patient. But it gets there. I get there.
You said one thing that struck a chord with me. You said that you got all this monies together. And by saying that, one would suggest or assume there were no scholarships, there were no grants, there was no student help, no burst, nothing. You did this on your own.
Yes.
And this is the part of the program why I really wanted you here, because we have a number of students in Holland. Can you elaborate a bit on the struggle? Because we know you also have a son, so it was a bit of shuffling too. Because earlier we spoke and you said you wanted to get into the restaurant business. You wanted to become a restaurateur,
Yes.
you know, but then you looked at something that would help you be there for your son and also be there in terms of business. Explain a bit to the people the struggle, the time, the dedication, the tedious procedures that you went through to be what you are today.
My son, at the time when I decided to do the course, it was a lot of money, and I wasn't eligible in Amsterdam to get any kind of financial aid from the government because my son was over 5. And I remember working hard. I was working in a coffee shop, actually.
In a coffee shop?
Yes. I was working in a coffee shop, and I was working half black, half white, so half on the table and half above the table. And when I wasn't working the night shift in the coffee shop, I had friends that took care of my son for the night shift, and I used to work in the day as a maid. I worked different houses on the street that I lived at, clean, took their dogs out, iron, cook, did all of these things for the people that was around me. And I will not say they were only clans, they were very supportive of me. The Dutch people are not all what they seem when they come here. I met some good ones in the Netherlands, and I remember working, they always hooked me up with other friends, and that's how I started paying the course. And I remember one day I was about a couple of months back with my tuition, and they threatened to throw me out. It was close to graduation, my first part of the course, and I heard, "You will not make it, Miss Duncan, because you haven't paid your tuition for a couple of months." And I thought, oh no. So I was more determined at that point. I was the only non-speaking Dutch person there. I had to learn Latin plus Dutch plus English and do everything I didn't know. I didn't have a clue, but I made it. And I remember leaving my son, leading him to bed at 8. At 3 o'clock I get up to study. That was the longest nights ever, because I remember thinking I have to get up at 6 to get to school, or to take him to school, or do what I have to do, or to go to the job. And it was a lot of the times I was thinking, oh my God, how am I going to make it? And the course was 2 years. So it was a 2-year thing that I was going through. Every day I was just praying, God, I said, God, help me through this week, because I just need to get to the end of the week where I have a time off or time with my son. But it was not an easy journey. When you were not, the government of St. Martin never sent me to the Netherlands. I went to the Netherlands, to Amsterdam, on my own. And when I was not eligible to get that financial aid from the government in the Netherlands, I decided to do it on my own. The reason for that, because I thought, the government of Holland cannot mold me. I need to mold myself. I was a pusher. I didn't take no for an answer. When they said, no, you're not eligible, I thought, you know what? Keep your money. I'm going to do what I have to do to get to the next place. And after 2 years of studying podiatry, I finally graduated, and it was a graduation of joy, because I had my diploma in my hand. And my son was much older then. He didn't understand, but he didn't know the freedom I had and the things that was going to happen in my life after I had my diploma in my hand. And there's no regrets. If I had to do this over again, I would do it all over again. And I would encourage anybody that is going to the Netherlands on their own. Don't go to the Netherlands just to sit down and receive government aid. Go to the Netherlands, learn a trade, learn something that when you come back, you will make a difference in St. Martin, because St. Martin needs us. We make this country, not the government, not anybody else, but we. We have to form a people here. And it's a lot of the times we go to the Netherlands, say, oh, I ain't coming back, because I was one of them. When I came back a few months, I thought, I ain't trying to stay here. I'm going back where the euro is sounding much better to me. And after the course of times, I kind of met different people, and I'm here, and I'm comfortable, and I'm getting where I need to be at the moment.
Yes, and one of those persons she met is yours truly, and that's why she's here tonight talking about her skill. And you know, I must admit, and it's not a case of me trying to be biased or trying just to promote for promoting's sake, but I had to test the waters for myself. I had to get it done on myself to see, what is she all about? Is it really what she says that she can do? So of course it was done. I went to a home, and the procedure is one of care. You feel at ease. And then I said, you know what? It was done for my wife. It was done for a friend of mine. And I went and I got the feedback. What do you think? Is it something good? How are you feeling? And they all said, you know, it feels different. And like I said, I saw the procedure. I saw the time that she took dealing with a client. Even when the client would say, ouch, she'll be like, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Let us do this a different way. You know, and this is what I'm saying, St. Martin. This is what we are all about here, especially on SXMTalk, promoting what we have here in terms of our people. Zenia Duncan is a beautiful person. And when you listen to the things that she have to say, for example, I have been suffering, you know, for quite some time, right, with chronic back pain. I always felt that it was a pinched nerve. And then I went and I did my MRI, and it was diagnosed as serious degenerative hernia disease. And the moment she saw me and she said, Chris, let me see your shoes. I took my shoes off. I placed them on the table. She said, that's your problem. Look at your shoes. Look how you're walking. And all of a sudden, I became more conscious about my feet. That's the reason why we are sharing this whole journey with you tonight, how important your feet are. Now, it's not for me to talk. because I'm not into the medical field. It's for the professional to talk how important your feet are. You mentioned one thing to me the last time, Zenia, when we was talking about the young people and the children and with the shoes, and you said it's a great disservice that parents and people are doing
Yes.
to their young children, and it's because they don't know, right? And you talk about the shoes in the different stores. Elaborate a bit on that.
Yes. What I notice in kids here in St. Martin, the shoes that the parents buy, especially more of the girls, I bring awareness to that point is because the slippers that they buy, I understand people don't have a lot of money to buy shoes, but shoes is important on development foot. When the foot is not developed in the right way, what could happen later is that that child will have a lot of back problems or even knee problems. And I see the shoes that they wear is very flat. There's no curves in the heels. There's no curve in the arch. There is no nothing to hold the heel. Because once a fit is flat, that is the way it's going to develop. And then people as adults, young men and women, have a lot of flat feet here because they wear slippers. You could wear soles after a while, but as an older person in your 40s, it becomes something that is fixated. So what I would warn the young developing feet, people with children, try to get shoes that's closed, enclosed, sneaks that is enclosed. When you send them to school or they're out on the outing, a birthday party, you have to wear shoes with lace. Exactly, Chris, thanks. It's where you have to keep the foot in the right order, because if it's not in the right order, it just gets flat. Later the kids have problem and you wonder why my son is walking a certain way, or why in the older age they have back issues and knee issues. It's because from development stage they never had the foot corrected or even developed properly. I have a nephew. He came one day with these little flat slippers, and I said to the mom, you know, this is not the shoes you buy for him. I will show you what you need to get him. And she kind of saw the difference in the way he's walking. He had a little flat feet. He walked very heavily. And this is one of the signs you will realize that children have when they walk. When the shoes is too flat, they flap. And to prevent that, you need to get shoes that is holding the heel, the arch of the foot, and the front of the foot. So by walking and lacing shoes, it gives them a better chance of having good proportion feet.
You told me about the slippers, these Dutch slippers that everybody seems to fancy right now. You said they are one of the best slippers.
The Birkenstocks, yeah.
Yeah, one of the best slippers around. But I also met a nice gentleman that came from Holland. He has traveled all over the world. You know, I call him Dr. Arundel. He's also into the field of physiotherapy. He came back with a Belgium Olympic team. He was in Mexico. He was in Brazil, and he had these shoes that are called 5 fingers or something, where I mean the shoe itself takes the curve of your feet, and you see the space in between your toes, and he wears them all over. And he said these are one of the best shoes to wear right now because it really cushions your feet.
Yes.
Do you know about that?
Yes, I do. It's the silicone shoes. They have silicone in them between the toes, the ball of the foot, the arch, the heel of the foot. So when you walk, it molds your foot into its own shape, and it doesn't force or reinforce anything else. It develops for a young foot, perfect shoes. They're on the pricey side, and you would be able to afford them. But it's the shoes, I guess, for the future, because your toes are naturally next to each other. Because sometimes you have shoes that will squeeze your toes together, and that's not what you want. You want shoes that would hug your toes and not squeeze them. And that's what those shoes they does. A lot of athletes wear them. A lot of people that does gym stuff do them. Trainers do them. So it's something that people are not aware of as yet. I don't know if they have the shoes here to buy them, but they're a very high fashion thing in Europe at the moment.
Let me ask you this question, because I'm listening to you and you're going on and you're elaborating about, you know, the feet and this and that. I want to bring it a bit more to the cosmetic side of it. You know, we go and we get our feet nice and clean, and, you know, we scrape off this stuff. What is that white stuff that we scrape? Because you was doing it on my feet, and you were scraping this, and you said, Chris, you have a lot of calluses. Yes. What are the calluses? What do the calluses do?
Okay.
What is it?
You have two kind of calluses. You have physiology calluses and pathology calluses. Now you need calluses, but you don't need too much of it. When you have too much calluses on your foot, what it does is that your heel could get so dry and so thick that it bursts the heel, and then it could start bleeding and infection could happen. When you have too less calluses, you're walking and you feel your foot touching every stone on the ground or on your rug, or you can feel everything on the ground. So when you go to get the cosmetic treatment done, what you should do is make sure the person doesn't take too much calluses out. By wetting, okay, for instance, I have to stick to diabetic people because sometimes they go to the corner beautician and they try to get their feet done. And these people scrape and scrape until when they see nothing. There is a difference. There's a shine that you see on the foot, on the heel, or on the toe, and there is blood particles that you see. The pink it is, the better. But it cannot be too pink where there is nothing you cannot see the lines or the prints in your foot. Because we have prints on our foot. We have prints on our hands and our foot. When she cut too much of that imprint of yours, it becomes dangerous. You're prone to a lot of things. Chris had it. I took out just enough from him because he's a heavy guy. It's natural that he has calluses, but too much calluses is not good. It is something that could become very dangerous to someone if they don't know how to get rid of it.
You have me in love with my feet now, you know, and before I would say, men don't have to cream their feet or oil their feet or do that. We just throw on our pants and our socks and we go about our business. But now I find myself, you know, taking the lotion and the cream and the oil,
Yes.
and nicing down the feet because my feet feel, not just look, but it feels nice. You know, when I came to you and you got the treatment and done and stuff like that, and you also gave me some tips, and you said, Chris, you know, be careful with this, be careful with that. Look how you're doing this and look how you're doing that. Try to get this and try to get that. When it comes to someone with diabetes, right, explain to us why is it so important that they spend more time concentrating on their feet? Because you always seem to lose your foot
First, yeah.
first. Why is that?
Because the feet, the limbs, is the lowest part of the heart. The blood doesn't circulate as strong as it would circulate in the upper part of the torso. So what happens is that when you're a working person, you come home, you stand all day at work, you come and you elevate your foot. That's the perfect way to get the blood, fresh blood rotating. But as a diabetic person, you work all day. Always examine behind your calf, so behind your knee down, to see if you are getting varicose veins. When you wash your feet, you don't wash your feet in an aggression, especially between the toes. Try to use something for diabetic as a soap and a cream, because there is the ingredients inside of it helps to know what is in the ingredients, because everything could be very good when you are young and you don't have diabetes, but when you are having diabetes, your skin becomes much sensitive because of the blood circulation. It's a circulation disorder, so that means you have to dry between the toes properly. Try to elevate the foot and massage the foot from foot upwards, so back to the heart, so the blood stays fresh and it flows the way it's supposed to. Cutting the nails in the right order is very important. You can't go cutting your nails in the corner deep in because of ingrown. You'll be prone for ingrown. Making sure that the nails is not thick is something that is very important for diabetic people. Making sure when they go to the cosmetic place on the corner, she doesn't take out all the calluses that you might need in doing so. So there is all of these little tips that I give Chris, because he's not diabetic, but these are things that would make him aware of how to massage his feet, how to walk, how to develop certain patterns of doing things. Because like you said, men just throw on their shoes, throw on their pants. They know sometimes they don't wear socks with their leather shoes, and then at the end of the day they have blisters. But it is something that we have to keep aware. It's not only women that need to take care of the feet. Men need to do a lot of work themselves, because diabetic people, as Chris said, it's a big issue on St. Martin. And a lot of the times we go, oh yeah, it's not for me, I'm good. But as soon as something, that main vein decides to not work, then we're in trouble. But getting certain things done, nice cream, diabetic creams, or just regular cream to foot creams to lotion the foot after you take a shower and do a certain exercise, do certain things to the feet, you will feel the next day like you had a massage, and it's something that you'll want to do every day.
You also mentioned the word massage, and you also told me, you said, Chris, that is something you should do with your feet pretty often.
Yeah.
You should massage your feet. You should caress your feet and mold your feet. And I find myself getting that done with my daughters right now as they're in their younger age.
Yes.
You have me very conscious now of, when I'm going to look for shoes. But, let's take it here in our society here in St. Martin. We are prone to what we see. What is there is what we can buy.
Yeah.
And then many people don't have the kind of money to really get the proper insoles, the proper footwear for our young children. And you will just go to the store, you need a shoe to go to church, and you go to the store, it can fit you, and that's it. And that's what you get. What's the alternative?
There is alternatives here. For instance, you could always be advised for somebody like me to take a blueprint of the child's foot. Even because I do give a lot of charity work back to the community. Even if I'm not there yet financially in the practice, I do give charity work to young people or even mothers that can afford their older people. I would take a blueprint from the foot, see how that feet is developing, and ask the mom, listen, this and that and the other. The child needs a pair of shoes. It doesn't have to be the most expensive shoe, but it could be a shoes that will fit the foot. The shoe has to have lacings, and that flip-flops and those sandals is not the best. Try to get a pair of shoes and the shoes also this was something I had to say. Sometimes we buy shoes sometimes we buy shoes that's too big for our children, and it has to be where they could be a finger size, and that's how I measure the foot of the children when they come to visit with me. They would buy shoes that's way too big for the children, and that causes also a problem. The arch is stretched too much, or it becomes lazy, or that vein becomes, it's not a nice thing. So try to buy shoes, and when they measure the shoe, I kind of show them the finger in between the front and the back, so they measure it from there. But all of us can afford the most expensive shoes, but if you get a pair of good sneakers that has laces and it keeps the arch of the foot together, while the child is growing, they will have a better chance of having better feet during the time they're developing.
Let's talk about connection. Let's talk about getting you. Let's talk about finding you. Let's talk about your location, where you're at, you being mobile. How can people reach Zenia Duncan? What's your email? What's your phone number? What's your address?
Yes.
How can you be reached? Because I can imagine, after people view this, they're going to be saying, you know what? My grandmom, my grandmom really need some care on her feet. My granddad, my dad, my mom, my aunt. How can people reach you?
I have a website. You could go through my website. It's www.barefeet-chiropody.net. You could send me emails through there to make an appointment or just get information. I do write back. It's in Dutch at the moment. I don't know if there's a translator on it, but I'm also available at 2 phone number that you probably will see on the screen. You could contact me through there, or call or come by my house in Miller Region. I live in 21 Davis Drive at my mom's. If I'm not there, she'll always give you my phone number or let you know how to contact me. So that is the way I'm reachable.
Let people know also that you can reach them.
Yes, I do come to your houses. If you call me for an appointment and you cannot come to me, I come to you. So I drive to your location to do the treatment for you.
Let me ask this question, because I was a bit intrigued when I saw you, and you came into the office and you said, didn't someone give you my number for you to call me? And that's how our friendship started, and from then we have been very, very close with each other. And I can remember the first time I came to your residence and you was about to perform on my feet. You came up with this box and this machine, and I said, oh my goodness, this is like going to the dentist. And you was like no. And then I saw you changing these tools, changing this, and you really went in. What is that box all
People
about?
always get, oh, what she got in the box? Now, it's not a bomb. It's a machine that's very expensive to me, and this is my first machine after I graduated. They're not cheap to come by, so I keep it in a special carry box. And it's called a Autoflex. It's an Autoflex machine that is like a motor. The hand part is the motor actually when it does all the work. The machine captures everything that goes in the little vacuum. It's like a little vacuum bag that goes in the little box. But I have to keep both of them protected. It's one of the high-end machine in the Netherlands. It's not a German, it's a Dutch brand because they make it in the Netherlands. And the pieces that I keep changing that you talk about, it's they're little diamond.
It's like the dentist.
Yes, they're little diamond things. They're called diamond frays. I really can't find the translation in English. So it's surgical steel that you could clean in a solution that disinfects, so you don't pass anything else to the other client.
Let's talk a bit about getting established, because I know you're working very, very seriously in getting a location. You have been around to the different offices. Like I said, that's how we met, and I know that you're trying very hard. How difficult it is though, every time, every night. You know, you're saying, I got to get my practice off of the ground. I got to get my practice off of the ground. And I could imagine the bureaucracy here on St. Martin. You've been back and forth here and there. How difficult is that process? Do you get, demotivated at times?
Yes, I'm not. Yeah, I do. It is very difficult when you see a location. You think, wow, this will be the perfect location. But then you have to look at two things. The work that I do, sometimes I have people in wheelchairs. The kids will bring them, they will have to go in the wheelchair to get into my practice, and that's how I worked in the Netherlands. So when I look for a space, I'm looking for a space where it's accessible for wheelchairs, for older people they don't to climb, easy access for me to be able to leave immediately if I have to, and meaning it cannot be somewhere that's a hilly place, or if it's raining I cannot get to and people cannot get from. And I was looking at a few places and the prices are very high, so it's very difficult, very, very difficult to find a place that is suitable for a practice like mine. Because there is nothing like this what I give on St. Martin. There is a couple of people that does it, but it's not, I wouldn't say as deep as I go, because I have looked around and I thought, oh, they do it that way, and that's not the way I was taught to do it. And I kind of keep to the method that I learned in the Netherlands. But to get a location here is very difficult. The prices are never right. Well, for me, it's never right. And the location is always where there's never parking. It's quite difficult for the traffic coming back and forth because you're trying to be as safe as possible. So it has been a hard wall to break in comparison to in the Netherlands, because I realize here people they know you do that, they charge you enormous amount of money for rent. So you'll be working for the rent and not to be able to provide for what you need to provide for. But the challenge is difficult, and I'm not giving up. It gets discouraging at the end of the day. I think, oh, that hot sun, what am I gonna do now? I didn't get through with nothing today, but I know where's the will, there is a way. And I'm very ambitious, I'm a go-getter, I push. You tell me no, I'll be right back in your face. So I get discouraged, but I just thank God that I have not packed my bag and leave yet.
I want to talk to you a bit about my procedure, because I found this was this was great. It was marvelous, and it also shows that you're one that really care about the individual and the client, and not just the bottom end, which is the money. You started a treatment on my person, on my feet, and you said, Chris, you know what? I am looking at your shoes, and I realize that you're walking off balance. You're not stable, you're not straight. What I'm recommending and what I'm suggesting, before you go out and buy any new pair of shoes, you need to go to a particular therapist.
Yes.
You need to go to that area. You need to leave them take your footprints. Leave them take how you walk, how you step. They're going to make special soles for you that you can put into your new shoes, and at least for the time it elevates and it balances you out. Now I'm saying to myself, why would you be telling me this and you're making no money from it? You're not getting nothing from it, because I went to the place, And the treatment was, okay, how should I say it? The procedure was almost 3-4 times the amount that I had to pay you. And you didn't receive nothing. There's no compensation. There's no 5 and 10% coming to you for recommending that I go to this particular place. Why?
Because I look at the end result as the best interest of the client. It's not about, it's bigger than me. It is bigger than me because at the end of the day, I might send you to her, there's no 5 or 10%, but the people that will come back after they hear what their testimony is, it will come back to me more than that because I am not looking for that praise. I'm looking for the client who say, wow. And I want to see the client as you saying, wow, my back is perfect. I get up without pain. I don't have to take my meds anymore. And this is what I'm looking for. I want this to be a place, or said my place, my business place, to be a place where they go, wow, I went to Zenia, Duncan, and that girl, man, she could work some feet. And she sent me to this other place, and that woman could work some souls. This is how you kind of establish yourself. I'm not here to get rich because I think rich is not, I'm not a rich who I am. I'm a rich person. I have good people around me. I have people that look at my interests. They know I could do a job. They hire me from my credential and my history and not from, oh, well, I hired her because she looked good now. No. I send you to this particular person is because I know this woman could do what she have to do. And I'm not looking for anything in return. I'm looking for the person that she might send back to me that I could be able to help them. And she'll say, oh, you know, I know Zenia. Go to her. She will hook you up and then you come back to me and then we'll fit some souls. So it is not about me getting the 5%. It's about a community or people in St. Martin is aware that there is a third party besides me to go to. When I cannot help you with the souls or I gave you a diagnosis of you need souls, you go to the next person because that is the way it should be. Everybody should get a part of the wealth. And I'm not here to keep the wealth. I'm here to share the wealth.
Let's talk a bit, getting back to your specialty, feet, you know, and why is it so important? Because that was a message I sent out. Let's talk about feet. Let's talk about your foot. People are listening right now and they say, you know what, I'm hearing this young lady, I'm hearing Chris, and they're talking about feet. But I have a corn here, and I have a bruise on this side. You know, my heel is blistered, and they can't reach you. What should they do immediately to sort of solve that problem? Yeah.
Usually the corn, if there's a corn going on in the feet and they don't know it's a corn, usually they find a way to start taking a razor blade and doing their own thing. Because I had a couple of people that came and butcher, and I had to kind of thought, oh Lord, because people do butcher themselves. When there is corns is something that has to be taken out by the doctor, because I think the doctors here do that. I know Dr. Spencer's does. She does a little bit of that in her practice. Even if she doesn't have a podiatrist on staff, she'll try to do it herself. But please don't try to take the corn out yourself. It is something that is, sometimes it could be deeper in the nerve than you think, and then you'll be butchering yourself. If you have a blister, do not tear the skin away. If you feel that there is something going on and you need anything, put your feet in some lukewarm water with some baking soda, because that works miracle. It kills a lot of infections, and it dries up the situation within 24 hours. So find Dr. Spencer's, find me, but as far as I'm concerned, a corn is a corn, and it is not an easy thing to kind of take out. You'll be butchering yourself trying to dig it out. Yeah.
I look around in my neighborhood, Zenia, and there's a few young people, young children, that would run up and down and they'll be playing. And I constantly have to be telling my young cousins, where are your shoes? Where are your slippers? And you know, we would take it as just being kids, Caribbean, yeah, and they're children, and this is how we grew up. We run from here to here without shoes, and we just do it this way, right? Is that a good thing? Should we be doing that?
No, because I remember I was one of those kids that lived in St. Martin or in St. Lucia, and I remember running around without shoes, and I got cut. And the only thing I think that's wrong with my feet now is that scar that I had, your skin underneath doesn't stretch. Your bed of your feet does not stretch. That skin is not, I don't care what surgeons tell you, it's not true. When you have a scar in your calluses area, so under your feet, when it heals after you turn 40, 30, it starts to have little grains of rice, and that's corns. You don't feel it right away. I know for a fact that mine do get calluses or corns in it, and I take it out for myself because I know how to do that. But as a child, when you get a wound under the feet, it will be difficult later in life for you to think it's going to be okay. You will develop corns in that scar, and that will be a very difficult thing to treat after a while.
Why is it so important that people who are diabetic, right, be careful where they walk in terms of making sure that they don't bump their feet here? The reason why I'm asking you that, like I said, I observed you taking care of a client, and you know you was doing your stuff, you was doing your thing, and you was trying to get this corn out, and you looked at her toes and you looked at her nail, and you said, you bump this here, you bump that there, you need to be careful how you're walking, you need to be careful. And she was like, yes, I did bump this here. Why should they be so careful
Because
how they bump their feet and cut their feet? Why?
it is important, and I will stress on this. It's a vein circulation. So when you have diabetes, you don't circulate like a normal person. Your vein become calky. You don't feel things immediately. You get bruises and you don't know because the blood clots in the circulation is not there anymore. The reason for that, people sometimes with diabetes, when they bump, they don't feel it. And before you know, the blood clot is under the skin or on the nail. Before it is an infection, it makes gangrene, and they have to surgically remove it. And this is the high thing on St. Martin. St. Martin is a place where amputation is done. It's like buying hot bread. And to avoid these things, you also have to give the public information about what not to do when they are diabetes. Because first thing the doctors cut is your limbs, your foot, your toe, your knee, from knee down, or a part of a limb.
Yeah.
And your toe, and big toes is the one that's always first to go.
Why is that? Why do they seem to always like the big toe and goes with it first? Why?
Because the vein in the big toe is the ruler. And when that vein gets damaged, all the blood rushes through that vein. The small one are minors, and the big one is a major. So what happens is that once the caul gets into that nail and they bump the foot becomes gangrene. There is no other option. And that's why examining the foot by a podiatrist, when you're a podiatrist and you see people with bruises in their toe or under the bedding, you get alarmed because you know, hey, what happened? Did you know you bumped? Some of them don't. There was a bruising on this particular client, and I told her, I said, did you bump your toe? She said, yeah, I think so. I said, but you had the acrylic on the toe. Sometimes it's not even the bruise, it's not even the bumping, the people here, they have diabetes, they put the acrylic on their toe. Your toe bed is a thin layer, and that heavy acrylic just causes a lot of chaos.
What is acrylic?
Acrylic is that
those nice fancy nails that we see.
That people wear on their toe and on their fingers. That is not good when you are diabetes to do that, because you have that bruising on the toe. You don't know there is a bruising on the toe, and you end up thinking, oh, it's just a bruise. But it develops into an infection, and infection becomes gangrene, and then the doctor goes, oh, Mrs. So-and-so, you're losing your toe, we got to cut it. And a lot of the times you don't know, because with the acrylic you cannot see your natural toe. So I advise not to. Most of the time, by older people, don't do these things because the acrylic is quite heavy. That in itself bruises the toe or the nail bed. Let's put it that way. And it is information that you have to be able to give, and hopefully they receive it in a good way.
You mentioned a while ago that there's a straight vein to the big toe, most of the blood. And you know, I know you was coming on to the program, so I started to do my research, and I started to look at the anatomy of the body and the nervous system and the blood system. And then I put up on a page that was talking about feet, and they were showing different points in the feet, like in the big toe, in the middle, down at the heels. And they were saying if you have migraine, you should massage this part of your foot. If you have a toothache, if you have a headache, for your kidneys, for your lungs, your big toe. Why is everything in your feet? Why are they saying, your feet, if you're for your kidneys, for your lungs, for your heart, for your eyes? I mean, we don't know these things. Why?
Yeah, because your brain is connected to your feet. Every part of your brain cells, all the veins, all the nerves is connected to your feet. So when let's say you prick your foot, where do you feel it?
Yeah,
You feel it in your brain.
Yeah,
Yes.
like, ah.
Yes, exactly. So, and it's reflexology. I didn't learn reflexology, but it's something that I know for a fact that it does work. Because I took it, somebody did it on me in the Netherlands. I was having a lot of migraines, and he used to massage on the points of my foot. And I know for a fact it works because I tell you, I remember one time taking acupuncture with the same therapist in the Netherlands, and he said, when you go home, you're going to have to go to the bathroom. I'm thinking, oh, Lord, that's never going to happen. And he was right. It is, reflexology is something that, if there is a person that practices it here, I think there is, it's something that's very important to do at least once in a while to stimulate your organs in your body. If you don't know, you don't know, but I know a gentleman of William Haynes. He does acupuncture, but I think he does also reflexology in town, on the Illich Road somewhere. A lot of the times, it's very good to do it because you can massage different part of your muscles, especially your heart, because your heart has a point under your feet. So by doing so, it's nice to get some of that stimulants. For instance, kids, when they're babies, I did it with my son, I used to massage under his feet, and it just puts him to sleep. I didn't know where I was massaging because I didn't know all that stuff then, but I remember doing it, and it would make him fall asleep. It would soothe him.
Why do you tickle when someone play with the bottom of your feet?
Because
like,
it's the most sensitive part of the body. It
wow.
is it's very sensitive, and when you were paralyzed, a lot of the times the doctor puts this instrument under your feet.
Right.
It is a way of seeing if your nerves are working, and you have that sensation that you're supposed to have. So that is the reason for that.
Well, we are down to the last couple of minutes in the program. I'm going to give our young pediatrist the opportunity to send out her contact information again, because it is so important to me. Like I said, now I know I'm so conscious of my feet. I'm so conscious of the things that I'm supposed to do, that now I'm looking at my shoes, I'm looking at my soles, I'm looking at how I walk. I try to balance myself, you know, simply because I met this beautiful young lady. So Zenia, again, tell the people why their feet is so important, how they can reach you, and simple things.
Your feet are important because it's the basic foundation of who you are. When your feet are strong, you're a strong person, you're good to go. My contact number is on the screen. You could also email me through my website. It's www.barefeet-chiropody.net. And I will respond if you have any questions to the show, any questions in general concerning your feet, you could contact me through there.
Right. Now, like I said, I know we are down to the last couple of minutes in the program, but I have just one more question for the young pediatrist that we have here, right? You seriously can't get that smell out?
No, I can't.
No, but you see, it's a good thing. It's a good thing.
Yes.
because when you listen to your story and the struggle to where you are today, right? People know that this is a serious
Yes.
person. People know that you believe in what you do and what you want. And I'm happy because now you have me thinking a lot. So I'm happy that you're here on the program.
Thank you
I would
for
wish
having me.
that you would come back. What we'll probably try to do is get a model of a foot, you know, so you can twist it and turn it and show the different points. And
I will
different
bring my own
areas.
back.
Right.
My
right.
Jimmy, I call him, back.
You have a
Yes,
foot?
I do have a foot.
I should have tell you to bring this
I do
foot.
have a foot.
You did send me an email and
Yes.
ask what
What-
you should.
yeah.
Yeah, that's my bad, people. That's my bad.
No, I do have a foot, and I was as a student in the Institute de Court where I studied in the Netherlands. You had to have a foot. Mine was Jimmy, and he was
Why, Jimmy?
because he was a dead Negro and killed all the dead Negroes. But he was quite a handy thing to have during the time I was studying, because a lot of the times I learned in the special anatomy part of my course, I had to do the Latin bone naming, and that's how he was my best friend. I had to learn him. I sticked him, I painted him, I did everything during the time of my examination, and I scored really high on special anatomy. So I'm very proud of that foot.
So Martin, people, again, this is what we do here on www.SXMTalk.com. We bring you this information. Take care of yourselves, St. Martin. God bless each and every one of you. Goodbye.
There was a time when people dare not utter a word. There was a time when people were in the dark and searching for accurate information. Just when all hope is lost and frustration hangs in the balance, SXMTalk emerges and broke the silence. Join host Christopher Emmanuel for live and serious discussions and hard talk.